Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. I'm joined once again by Dr. Raymond Keller and Robert Potter. We're going to talk about Venus and lots of information that I think is going to be blowing you guys away. So welcome again, guys, and let's kick it off.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be on the program.
Excellent. Wonderful to have you guys. We disclosed so much last time. This time, after Robert does a little bit of introduction, like he did last time, we're gonna jump in and look at I've had little contactee, some stuff happened to me that I'm starting to connect with, and I know Dr. Keller, you've had quite extensive contactee, and Robert, you've had contactee. We've all had here a contactee, there a contactee, everywhere a contactee. So they're everywhere right now. They've been in our history all the way back to the beginnings. And Dr. Keller, you've done an exceptional job of scientifically pointing that out. Every major culture that has risen has had a contactee type of event and has helped inform them throughout time. So that's something everyone, once you start to see the history of that, once you go into your amazing books and you start to read them, I don't want to put them down. It's like, I just want the world to stop so I can focus on your books and just read that information. It's just so incredible. So Robert, without further ado, let's jump in. What do you have to offer us?
Okay, well, given the current world situation today and the fan base that you have, I want to make this information that we're going to be sharing, that Raymond is revealing through his books, relevant. And as we know, I don't want to talk too much about the dark side, but their time is done. The abomination on the planet is coming to a close. And with a lot of the weather changes going on, some of these are natural. A lot of this flooding took place around the time of the mass corona ejection, some of it is orchestrated. There are definitely some dastardly plans of a system that has been in place for many thousands of years. And I don't want to go completely into the hierarchy of the darkness, but there is one. And when we talk about the hierarchy of light, and my conference is coming up this summer, which is, by the way, sold out now, thanks to you and many other wonderful guests, and I hope that people can come next year. The hierarchy of light, due to non-interference policies, they have had to help silently behind the scenes. Okay, so whenever an extraterrestrial race comes and influences a lower third dimensional race before that race is mature and on its own has established peace, a representative government, equitable distribution of the world's resources, has been able to care for the least of them. In other words, doing unto others, to realize the truth of God, to love God with all their heart, and to love their neighbor as themselves. That's kind of the encapsulation of the entire Ten Commandments, so to speak. And so the hidden hand, which is, in our more ancient history, for those who have researched and studied, and as we know now, has been through the arc, the luminous arc of time. The history of separating myth and fact is now coming to a point where we're going to have more and more open contact. Eventually, when time is right, or in the fullness of time, so to speak, we will have more direct understanding. And one of the things that we need to have here is faith. And in my conversations with Raymond, I had asked him recently, actually. I said, why don't they need faith? What he said was, I'm going to read exactly what he said. I asked him why they do not need faith. He said, these beings exist in a type of perfected attunement without the need of faith because they live in a celestial realm. And and I'm sorry, because they live at these beings exist in a type of perfected attunement without the need of faith because they exist in a celestial realm, and everything hidden from our view is known to them. In their realm, which is made of a blessed dense matter, they have more refined interactions and the actual experience of knowing and interacting within the presence of other divine beings personally. They know divine beings from actual experience, therefore, they do not need faith since they have direct truth and experience. As Commander Valiant Thor, who acted as a guardian in the angel force for Earth and was commissioned directly by Jesus Christ, has said, we know the divine beings personally that you of Earth only read about and speculate about. And that's directly from Raymond. So what we find here is that there is a plan, and that for purposes of free will, to not interfere with the human development, they are not interfering. The second reason that I believe that they're holding back is that the system that has been orchestrated and is in violation of God's laws. So much of our materialistic world and the system that we exist under at this point in time is false. It's built on lies and corruption. And as we know, not just those who are making errors, not just those who are inept and can't get things done, there's actually truly wicked people here. And they have a very well thought out long plan to literally depopulate the planet. And in the sense, this hasn't changed since the time of even Jesus Christ's time. He was being faced in his ministry, he was being faced with demons that would materialize and go, oh, we've heard about you. What are you doing here? And he would cast these non-human parasitic entities, kind of like that we see sometimes that have taken over sometimes people in positions of power and leadership, most definitely. And they said, it's not our time yet. So there actually seems to be some sort of celestial agreement that was coming down. Now, why was 2012 prophesied as such a great time of change? The reason, Michael, and to your audience, I believe, is that the celestial kind of treaties that they have that were unknowns to us, that were hidden to us, expired in 2012, December 21st. That was when that negative force, which has been recognized as a group of beings that parasite on lower dimensional worlds, if they can insert themselves, and they seem to have done so about 16,000 years ago. This is confirmed in the Transylvania Sunrise series that I highly recommend people read, of the ancient record rooms. The Venusians have talked to me about it, and the people at the conference and those who have my book will hear what the Queen, about what the Queen of Venus actually said. And I know that a lot of this stuff is very out there for many people, but I think that it's important people understand that there is a plan. God has not forsaken us, but they must remain hidden to our sight for a time so that we can realize we have to look at this horrible situation as a gift. God can always has a plan to make something. And when I say God, I don't mean an individual person. And, I don't want to offend people, but I mean, Archangel Michael, Jesus, these are truly divine personages. But as Raymond reminded me, they are absolute, very high and pure reflections of the Heavenly Father, which is beyond all name and form and which exists in all form. So to have this faith and for a greater gnosis of humanity, the ministry of angels, or what the Venusians call the angel force, or the queen has, and I love that term. We recognize that the extraterrestrials have been here throughout history, as Daniel spoke about, wheels within wheels, as the chosen people were led out of Israel by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. And in Hebrews 13:2, uh, be ye kind to strangers, and be ye therefore aware that you entertain angels unaware. They are other people just like us. They are very special. They're divine personages who can lower their vibrations, and it's harder to go up. But to realize that um, um, they are here as our guardians, the Venusians in particular being our closest neighbor.
So
And
the Venusians, so we know that they are in league with the angelic realm, like you talked about in your books, Dr. Keller. So
Yes.
it's fascinating to me because I've had ever since a little boy, I've had angels showing up, and Archangel Michael, protected me, or actually saved my life in a combat zone once. So there's definitely a connection I have, and I see that you are making a connection with Venus and the angels. Can you explain that a little bit? So
I want
outstanding.
I had one more paragraph here I want to say.
All
I
right,
was
jump
really
in.
right at the end. And
Doing the show here.
yeah, no.
Go ahead.
So what I wanted to say was, in this ministry of angels, Raymond Keller is our chosen messenger, and he has 5 books out now, and he's actually working on the ninth in the last year.
Oh my
We're going to
God.
be releasing 3 more books, one very special, and I'm just going to let him talk now. But that's what I wanted. I was really right at the end of the paragraph there
Sweet.
to let you
I
go.
must have been feeling that. So, Dr. Keller, I mean, your books are magnificent. I have 3 already. I just bought another 2. Do a little research before the show, and if anyone wants to get your books, go to Amazon right now. You better get them now because they're going to sell out, because they sold out last time, and I saw that the 2 of the books that I got were like low in the numbers. So jump in and get them. You do have one that's on Kindle. That one is the Venus Rising book, and
Yes.
that's a great one. So what is it do you see with the you know Venus and angels and Valiant Thor and all the different groups that have been trying to help humanity, take humanity to the next level? A lot of the Venusian people are trying to, their masters are trying to, help humanity before they go to the next level. So they're actually holding back to help humanity before they ascend to higher levels of consciousness. Can you explain a little bit of that? That's a lot. So
Oh, yes. Well, thank you so much, Michael. Um, when we look back in history, we see that there have been unseen forces at work guiding and protecting us along the way. And I wouldn't say that that anybody is the sole messenger, because we all have those powers latent within us that
beautiful.
we can develop to a higher order, where we too can commune with extraterrestrial and ultra-dimensional beings, and we can call upon them when we are in need of assistance.
Excellent. So taking like some of your work already, and where you go into talking about how you had contact with Venus and beings from Venus, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, many of Venus have lived lives on Earth. They have come down here as avatars, as teachers, to guide us along the way, and they have shared information with us that can help perfect us and bring us along the path. I have a video, or not a video, but I have a PowerPoint that I had prepared with Genesee Roy and presented. It was presented by Genesee at the last meeting at Mount Shasta. And I'd like to share that because
Absolutely. Thank you.
it's dealing with why they are here, why they are here.
Fabulous.
Okay, and let's see. So we want to go to,
So
okay,
my own connections I've been having in a parallel life working with the Secret Space Program. I have memories of actually visiting Venus and you know, contacting people in Venus and the artwork that they have there, the fountains, internal parts, and so it's pretty amazing.
okay, and let's see on the current slide. Okay. Well, one of the most important things that the Venusians want to do in helping us is getting ourselves to become aware of who we are. We're much greater and much more powerful than we can even imagine. And they want to help us to tap into that knowledge because this is the way uh, that the process of ascension begins. It doesn't happen all at once, but thousands of individuals have been literally taken up bodily and taken to other planets where they've reached a point of self-realization or knowledge that they can do these things. And we know as from ancient history at the oracle at Delphi um, in Greece, it says right over the temple there, know thyself. And so this is the first step. This is the most important gnosis that we could obtain, is to who we are. Because if we don't know who we are and where we came from, we won't know where we're going or even how to begin to get there. So what we want to do is to make our world a better place. We're here for a reason. We're here as part of a galactic community, whether we recognize it or not. And so we want to be the change that you want to see in the world. Every day when you wake up, if you have an objective, there's something that you want to do that you feel impressed upon, then even taking one little step in that direction will move you and the world forward to a better place. I know that power of intention is quite real. I wanted to visit many countries and explore many countries, and when I wanted to go to different countries in Africa, for example, I put a picture of the Volta Dam in Ghana on my mirror. And then I ask myself every day, what have I done to get there? And then within 6 months, I was standing on top of that dam, and I lived in Ghana for 2 years. So it's this power of intention is real, and you could focus it to accomplish amazing things. So that's one of the things, one of the messages that the Venusians leaves with us to help empower us. And then we all have a higher self that manifests on multi-dimensional planes. We moreover than physical beings, we are also spiritual beings. So the way the Venusians look at it is that we come into this world from higher realms, and the physical body that we have is like a spacesuit that we're given so we could survive and thrive in this terrestrial environment. But we're really celestial beings. And so the more that we learn, the more that we study, the more that we meditate, the more that we dedicate our heart to seek this higher knowledge, the closer we will get toward a integration with uh, with our with our higher self. Now on Venus, um, we we learn firsthand that sentient intelligence isn't embedded only in the human form, but on the 601 planets in 51 solar systems, we learn of various life forms, many other than human or humanoid. There are bees on Venus. They're about um, 5 feet long on average. And the Venusian humanoids, humans themselves, live in vast uh, underground city complexes. And a lot of information about this has been passed on previously um, about different life forms on Venus. One of them is Dr. Valiant Thor, and Dr. Frank Stranges. He was born in New Jersey in 1927. I'm working on several volumes now with all of his material,
Nice.
and there that's going to be coming out in book number 9. But
Fabulous.
yeah, he explains all that. I have all the Valiant Thor material, and a lot of it never before seen, like Valiant Thor's notes, Valiant Thor's other photos of Venusians and people at the High Bridge Flying Saucer Club in New Jersey and everything. It's all on Jeff Rentz's site. Uh, uh, Viewers can check that out over there when they have the time. But that's all going to be compiled into a book coming out in the future as well. But yeah, these are some of the reasons why they are here, to impart information, to help inspire those on Earth to make this planet a paradisical world, much like other worlds in the Confederation of Planets. And that'll be the purpose of the hierarchy of light in Mount Shasta, is to discuss ways that we individually and as communities can work together to make things better all the way around. And I assure you that as soon as we start moving in that direction, either individually or as a society, we'll have the disclosures that everybody is looking for. But by the way, I wanted to share one thing about the disclosure. Back on June the 25th, the disclosure was made that the speed and maneuverability of these objects that we call unidentified aerial phenomena were indicative of a high technology that we did not understand, but they weren't going to come out and say it was flying saucers. Yet I have statements from the files of Dr. Frankie Stranges that were released, official statement on flying saucers that was released on January 16th, 1949, um, after the closure of Project Sign. So the Air Force had 3 projects investigating UFOs. They had first Project Sign, which in the newspapers and everything back at the time they called Project Saucer. That was 1947 to the beginning, the end of 1948. And then from 1948 until 1952, it was Project Grudge. And then from 52 until 1969, it was Project Blue Book, which was headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. But anyway, Project Sign, their statement was that there is a definite technology behind the flying saucers, but we cannot say at this time that these objects are extraterrestrial vehicles. So we've actually come full circle, and there's been essentially no significant disclosure that these are extraterrestrial. However, it is my opinion that individuals on their own have already received personal revelation and disclosure that not only are these extraterrestrial, but they've met the beings, the flying saucer occupants. There was a Gallup poll that said 48% of Americans had seen flying saucers, and 15% believed that they had been in actual communication with these beings in some form or another.
Yeah, the
But
disclosure is going to come from people. It's not coming from the government. I
no,
mean,
no.
they're releasing little stuff at this, and folks, you're going to have to go to search the contactees, and there's a lot of differences in everyone's own apperceptions of what's really taking place, and there's many different races. I think those races have come together now from various sources are indicating that there have been some major decisions and councils, and they are unified into how to help humanity move through this process. So I think we're looking at something new coming up, and Raymond's going to be revealing something very, very, very special at this conference. It's going to help a lot of people.
Right.
Well, as far as the other forms of life beside the humanoid, when we look at the Earth, there are many species that do have a high level of intelligence that live around us and go unrecognized all the time. I'm talking about octopi, dolphins, um,
Wales.
yeah, whales, bees, and so forth. And in fact, as far as large bees go, there's some 300 types of bees here on the Earth, but there's one that bears a very close similarity to those on Venus. There are these bees that they're the size of a mouse, and they make their homes burrowed into the hot volcanic sands of in the mountains of Nicaragua, right above Lago de Nicaragua.
Wow. Fascinating. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And so I have memories of actually going to Venus in a flying saucer and coming off and being greeted. And there's all kinds of different animals, mostly living underground, like you're talking about. But the atmosphere and the environment underground is paradisical, like you're talking about. It's unbelievable, and time just stands still when you're there. It goes. I was there for, I think, for months, but it was like there was no time. There was no time
Oh
there.
yes,
Mhm.
and Michael, I have some good news for you about that because you're not the only one who's had that perception.
Mm.
George Adamski, when he after he wrote his second book in his Venus trilogy, he said that when he got off, when he was first in the presence of Venusians on Venus, he wasn't sure whether he was in or out of the body. And then in the Bible, the Apostle Paul talked about ascending up into the third heaven. Now, in the pre-Copernican world, the we know that the celestial bodies were gauged by their luminosity. So the sun, like in Dante's books and so
Right.
forth, the sun would be the first sphere of heaven, the moon would be the second, and then Venus, being the third brightest sphere, would be the third sphere of heaven. So this is how Venus is presented in Dante's Paradiso, where he goes there and he meets with not only with various angelic beings and various masters and delightful people who had been reincarnated on Venus following their Earth life, but he also meets with Jesus, the Master Jesus himself,
Hmm.
and and so Paul said when he was taken up into the third heaven, he knew not whether he was in the body or out of the body, and so this experience which you have had is by no means uncommon, and it verifies to me that you've indeed had this experience, because only a few are really cognizant of these facts.
Wow, that's fantastic. So good to know that we're on the same sheet of music. I know that that Robert, you've had an amazing experience with Venusian. Am I saying that correctly? Venusian?
Yeah, Venusians, that's correct. For
Yeah.
me, I've had a series of wonderful mentors, guides, and teachers, and now those teachers are actually the Venusians themselves. It started with Fred Bell. It went to Dr. Gabriel Green, and then Frank Strange's, many other contactees as well. But and then it went to Louis Martins, who's an incredible contactee, who's very hard spaces, never really involved in anything that we talk about as far as what the world's going on. He's more about what the Venusian mission really is to help people to know themselves and to develop the spiritual armor of truth that will help them make the right decisions through our trying times. But of course, my closest and dearest friend, who has whatever, because of the times now, I'm understanding much more. He shared with me. We have endless hours of conversations. We talk about a time travel, and I unraveled the with this latest work, which has to do with kind of like this divine ministry that I'm so excited. I just can't wait. I have to keep my little trap shut on it till August 26th. But um, there's certain
I
things
know
that
it's tough for you. Good job hanging in there.
yeah, it's really hard. But one of the revelations, because it is a divine revelation, they've chosen Raymond. He's their chosen messenger,
Absolutely.
writing now 9 books about a lot of things, and it's because he actually comes from there in a series of incarnations on Earth, and
Wow.
uh, who knows where he came from before that. We're all infinite beings. We're all celestial.
Yep.
And this earth seems very hard and we want to get out. But I was counting them up. I think I've had like 20 that I know of. I've probably met 20 or 24 of them. I didn't meet them all. I saw many of them, but I probably had one, two, I think I had like 5 interactions with them, and one was with Valiant Thor very briefly, and they kind of blocked me from focusing on it. But I knew that they were at a certain point, and I think it's if you focus too much on the fact that they're from outer space, the silver spaceships and the spacesuits, and they're so human when they're there. They're just always smiling, and the Commander Rains, who I met, um, you know, they can have Earth lives. if witness protection and the CAA can create a false identity, trust me, the Venusians can too. And what really has shocked me is that the amount of interaction that is going on. I mean, they're traveling, coming to and from their spaceships, and inserting themselves and affecting quietly behind the scenes scientists like Raymond, writers, military, musicians, in all manner of development, theoretical physicists, and guiding us, kind of just trying to correct us to let us make our own decision. And at a certain point in time, something's going to happen. Raymond, I thought maybe, Michael, you could ask him some questions because he actually has traveled in time in a bilocation signal. And he also, there's a woman in the book Lady Columba Venus Revelations. I think I gave that to you in one of the first ones.
Yep.
But in 1957, she traveled, she was taken to Venus. And after some things there, she kind of reveals, she's taken to the moon and reveals a lot of things about their guardianship and how they actually monitor the flow of time, and they saw something in the future. They had a council meeting on how to handle it, and they chose to go to a future Earth, parallel Earth, and throughout a series of 26 years in that future Earth's time, starting in 2063, they helped that Earth overcome the destruction of their world through toplet quark quark bombs, actually is what they were, that destroyed the planet. And it didn't blow the planet up. Our nuclear weapons would blow the planet up. They will not allow that. But they had to allow this future Earth, Earth number 4, have an explosion, and they were ready. They were watching it. I don't know if they tried to warn them or tried to do some stuff in between, but it was in the future. And what they did was they actually intervened in the sense that soon as the bombs happened, they carpet bombed them with what are called green fireballs, radiation neutralizing. They had picked up some of the people that attained a proper frequency. We might call them the elect or whatever, the people who were not of the vibration, and lifted them up. And then right when the nuclear bombs were taking place, they were picking people up and trying to help them. It's an incredible story. They even helped them rebuild the world. Atlantis rose and Lemuria rose, and it's an incredible book in Lady Columba Venus Revelations. And I can assure you, it's all very real. The woman who's on the cover of that book actually gave Raymond that book in 2017. She landed with another Venusian, and I think I'd shown that picture before. I can bring it up, but I'm going to sign off here, and maybe perhaps you might want to ask Raymond some questions around that, or Raymond might want to answer. I'll bring up their image and pop it up when I have it, just for a second, and then you can.
Okay. Raymond, as far as like the time, like Rob was talking about, I had an experience in 2003 where I thought I was having an out-of-body experience, but I saw my death. So I was like leaving my body, having died. And then I saw I get this, I thought, that's a bummer, because I feel like I'm really could help humanity now, because I'm really tapping into some, really higher spiritual abilities, remote viewing and all kind of crazy stuff. So, and then I felt this presence, and I looked up and there was Archangel Michael. And he like fixated me with like amazing amounts of love. It beamed into every cell of my body, boom. And then I was put back in time, back into my body. And then the missile that was coming to, or that had basically killed me, was directed to a harmless area. So I was like, wow. So from that point on, I really started having these abilities that were pretty amazing, using love vibrational energies, teaching people about these love vibrational energies and how, they can definitely affect consciousness, how they can affect the environment, and how they can absolutely affect future timelines like we're talking about, that I saw coming, that were going to be negative, like terrorist and attacks and stuff like that.
So these are the women that Raymond released his first two books. He's always kind of humble about this. He says, "I'm just a messenger. I'm just a messenger. I'm just a postman." But due to his living on Venus for 2 years, he is trusted and recognized as absolute family. And the woman on the left was born in 1902. I think I talked about this before, perhaps. But the woman on the right is from India, and they both had served in the Christian socialist movement in India during the Depression. And you notice they wear the little red berets. I think it goes back to the French Revolution, of the Angel Force being instrumental in helping guide the to a new platform of revelation. So the woman on the left, Lady Columba, handed Raymond Lady Columba Venus Revelations. And Raymond is such a master of the English language, and taking that, annotating that book in light of modern understanding, it's absolutely incredible. Um, and of course, Raymond did get to do some time travel stuff there. So I don't know if you want me to keep the picture on, or I could take it off. And Raymond, if you want to maybe share a little bit about that incredible book that is reveals so much.
Oh, yes. Well, one of the aspects about life on other planets is that they have a kind of communalism. And as I go through Dr. Frank Strange's material, he was asked this question. He was asked this question many times because he worked very closely with Gabriel Green and others, and um, they were concerned about at that time in the late 1950s and the 1960s about about communism. And Dr. Frank asked asked the Venusians about it, and they said, well, when you look back to your scriptures, to the New Testament, you see in I think it's Acts chapter 4, verse 22, that the apostles and the early Christians had all things in common. But Dr. Frank said that the Venusians explained to him that this is by a voluntary association. It wasn't imposed on them by an authoritarian hierarchy. So I think that distinction um, needs to be made, because when people begin to study about the Venusians and understand other extraterrestrials and their way of life, not to confuse it with the brand of totalitarianism, totalitarianist communism that many people like the Cubans have to suffer under versus a voluntary association. So I thought I should make that point.
Excellent.
Another thing I was going to say was, since you kind of went down that path a little bit, was the um, the way that they work is really through a barter system, and we may want to look at this. These are some of the concepts that many people are going to be triggered at because of our system, but our system is absolutely unfair, unequal. We have people starving on the streets who are marginalized, and we have billionaires flying in outer space. Where is the charity? Where is the allegiance to our fellow man and understanding things? So here's what Raymond's told me, and I read this from Gabriel Green talked about this, called the universal economic system, of which they have found that when you have money, there's always hoarding, there's always people that use it improperly, and that they kind of choose more councils, and they hold things in common. In other words, everyone has a right to use everything. In a sense, you don't own anything. Everything's held in a thing and in a trust. And so if you create a company, congratulations, hooray to you. But you can't do it all on your own. You could maybe, one of my suggestions would be that every single company in the world, the owner, you know, as he starts and gets going, he should take, and it can be like a stock where The stockholders decide where the profits go, even to build the business. But let's say the owner of the company gets 30%. All the employees own 70% of the stock. Now you have pride of ownership, you have profit motive, you have a reason to come to work, a reason to do a good job, and you can earn, a decent living wage. What they've done now, and what we're seeing is by giving people who make minimum wage, giving them this free money, there's no incentive to go back to work. And of course, this is an orchestrated plan to destroy the economy and all the other Project Doom things that we see taking place throughout the world in terms of explosions of pipelines and power plants and various other negative activities as the final death throes of the hierarchy of darkness before humanity rises up, and we don't have to fight them, we just ignore them. So communism, as Raymond says, a type of communal living understanding. When we think of communism, we just reject it, just like we reject socialism. But there's aspects of caring for our fellow man and seeing to it with a new system that we can build on our own through our own will. We can create something much, much better.
Okay, very well said, Rob. Thank you so much.
Michael, got any time travel questions for Raymond?
Yeah, I posed one to him. So I had that Archangel Michael experience, and so the time travel stuff is I've had a lot of it since then, and tapped into it. So that's seems to be something that the Venusians are teaching us as well.
Oh, yes, it's essentially stepping outside of time. We're locked into linear time, but there are definitely dimensions higher than that. In fact, that's one of the next slides here. It kind of illustrates that. Let me get to that so I can show that to you.
The picture behind Raymond that you saw there was actually behind him. There is a picture of his time travel experience in California desert in 1954. Actual photo.
Wow.
Okay. And we want to go to, okay. And then to,
One of the cool things from Lady Columba when they were helping that future Earth after over 26 years, they would come back and they would help the people. One of the things that they found was they were like literally helping them rebuild their world with spaceships coming over and creating buildings. So that the love, even for a future parallel Earth, and their intervention there is quite profound.
okay, is the picture up there now?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, great. Okay. The gentleman that you see on the right is Howard Menger. And this is when he was living in High Bridge, New Jersey. This was during the time of the flying saucer convention that he held on his farm. That's his apple orchard in the background. And you see his wife Marla at this flying saucer convention, and then in the background is a manifestation of his higher self, a being of light, who is an avatar, a teacher from the Saturnian system, from the planet Titan, a being of light known as Sol Dunaro. And so I think for Michael, your experience was tapping into a higher aspect of yourself, a higher self, a higher consciousness. And when this photograph was taken, it wasn't it wasn't obvious that there was anything or anybody in the background. But then later, Howard explained that at a local flying saucer club meeting in New Jersey. And then I have other photos of him as well in this process of transmogrification, when he purposely turned into a being of light. And I'm going to see if I can find it. It's going to be in one of my future books here.
Oh,
I'm going to see
fantastic.
if I can find it here before and
You don't have to find it, Oz.
share
You can just share. Don't.
it.
He's such a
Now
researcher.
this is book.
That's amazing.
This is actually book. That's book. That is book 8 right there. So I'm essentially timing the release of all this information.
Mhm.
But
That's also amazing that you've had past lifetimes that you've connected with that when you were a Venusian and so forth.
oh, thank you. And one of the things that they do is that they monitor timelines, because they're prohibited to interfere in their own timeline, whereas they can look at other timelines so they could get a general idea of where the Earth or some planet is going, because they generally follow the same the same pattern of development, except with occasional variations that may have been caused by anomalies or just interference that's direct or indirect on that timeline. And sometimes they have to go back and try to correct that and put the flow of time back in its proper order.
Hey, Raymond. One of the questions I have when you talk about that, so allegedly there's 8 parallel Earths. Are there 8 Michael Jacobs and 8 Raymond Kellers and 8 Robert Potters? How does the oversoul and the incarnation process, is it always the same? Are we always all incarnated on all 8 worlds? I mean, this is just so mind-boggling that.
Yes, you would have a supreme oversoul, and you would be but an aspect of that supreme oversoul. I experienced. I was in the VA hospital in Pittsburgh, and I had quadruple bypass surgery. And when I was out unconscious, they actually took my heart out of me to rewire it, I guess. But I had like Michael, I had a dream or a vision, out of
Out of
body,
body experience, near death experience.
near death NDE,
Mhm.
and I was ascended to a ring of light above the earth, and I was very dizzy because I could feel no bottom, and and see no bottom and see no top to it. So I would just cling to this ring. And then as I turned to my right or my left, I'd see a version of myself as a teenager, but dressed in clothing from different time periods and so forth. And then I knew I was in the presence of my higher self, manifesting different other aspects of myself in different time periods. And he offered me to go with him or to return to Earth and finish the Venus books. So that's why I came back, because that's what I was born to do. That's my mission.
Ah, cool. Very cool.
And one of the things about how he knew is because when he was on Venus for 2.5 months, one of the first things he did was he looked at all of his lifetimes on the Earth, and his first lifetime was as a poet, scribe, publicus Virgil Moro during the reign of the very first Caesar. He was the poet and scribe that we know as Virgil, who was
Wow.
visited by a Venusian called Lady Ankara,
Hmm.
um, who actually prophesied the birth of Christ to him, and also became in a recent incarnation the more unrecognized Mormon saint Annalise Scarron. So I asked him, I said, "Well, wow, what about your other lifetimes?" He goes, "Pretty boring, pushing pushing carts and herding sheep." So so this is an amazing revelation to me, because there was a book called the Seth Material that my mom was really into that I read that talked
Mhm.
about the Oversoul. So there's many mysteries for us to learn in terms of who we really are and how we exist as souls. And this is part of the revelation of the ministry of angels for mankind to know himself.
That might be interesting that that everybody generally goes through about 13 incarnation, 12, 13 incarnations on this sphere, on this terrestrial sphere,
Wow.
before they ascend to the to another world, to a higher realm, and at least one of those, uh, everybody is somebody of some notoriety. So everybody gets their day in the sun, so to speak.
It's fantastic. So what else do you gentlemen want to share? Last, let's do a little bit more sharing here. Uh, what's the biggest thing that's going on right now? We can kind of talk around some of the things that you know, that are hot buttons that'll get us kicked off of here. But how can we relate what's going on with the Venusians and what they're trying to help us through right now?
Okay, one of the things, there was a recent discovery with the Parker probe. Now, the Parker probe is a solar probe that was sent, of course, sent to the sun to analyze the sun and these weird changes and gyrations that are taking place in the sun
Mm-hmm.
of late. In fact, the whole solar system uh, appears to be heating up. And I guess we don't have to tell people in Oregon that, but they the way this probe works is they use the gravitational uh, pull of Venus as a slingshot. So it's going to go between the sun and Venus five times. So every time it goes around Venus, it's taking pictures and so forth. And they've taken some amazing photographs of the side of Venus that's facing away from us, away from our telescopes here on Earth, which would be the night side of Venus. Now, a day on Venus is about 119, 120 equivalent to Earth days. So the other side of Venus should be completely dark. Yet astronomers from time to time have photographed lights on the limb of Venus, very
Mm.
powerful lights that they couldn't explain. But the Parker probe, when it went around um, orbiting Venus and taking pictures, discovered uh, huge swarms of luminosity in the clouds and took photographs. It was all lit up like a Christmas tree,
Mm.
and they didn't have any way to explain it. But I write in my Venus books about the swarms of bees that are in the upper atmosphere, and of course that they're bioluminescent. And then,
Wow.
of course, there is the recent discovery of massive quantities of phosphenes in the Venusian atmosphere that are only produced by life forms.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just more evidence that that's come to light, that all the things that George Adamski was talking about, that Howard Menger and all these other contactees were talking about, Gabriel Green. it's now it's coming to light.
Hmm.
And from the Russian probes, the Venera probes, the Akatsuki probes from Japan, the European uh, Venus Express from the European Union, just taking all these little facts and putting them together in my, especially in the Venus 2 book, Rockets to Venus, and my 4th book, The Vast Venus Conspiracy. I detail all this information and plus what was discovered in Project White Stork, which was the government's secret. It was a secret project down at this Air Force base in Alabama, where they were keeping records on the Russians and their search for extraterrestrial life and monitoring their Venus probes, the various rockets and so forth that have gone there. Now, 46 missions have gone to Venus so far. That's more than the moon, Mars, or any other
Wow.
planet. So I just want the listeners and the viewers to keep that in mind when they think about Venus, because they want to tell us, Dr. Carl Sagan and all these other people try to tell us it's a dead, lifeless world. Well, it isn't, because the facts speak for themselves, and they're gradually coming out.
And in fact, the people in the government know exactly that's why they're sending it, and they're not, they don't get anything from them. They work silently. So I think what Michael was saying was in regards to the tremendous the heating up and the corona ejections, along with the natural tremendous flooding and weather changes that are coming, that may have been seen actually from the timelines of the future in our prophecies of these what we call apocalypse, which really means revelation. Most people think it's destruction. It's a cyclic change of awakening, and it's awakening the vibrations of the sun, and it's converting life and consciousness on the planet. Along with that, the intruder force, that all that negative stuff of the reptilians and all that sci-fi stuff that we see, that's kind of in the movie They Live and in Jupiter Ascending. We know that they are working feverishly behind the scenes, and they are monitoring our activities. What you got there, cuz? Talk so we can see that closer.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Yeah, this is from a book that's soon to come out. It's Etherians as Transdimensional Light Beings from Keller Venus Files. Photo at top depicts transmogrification of the Venusian Marla, aka Connie Menger, Howard Menger's second wife. Photo at bottom depicts transmogrification of Howard Menger himself into his true identity as Sol Dunaro, an avatar sent to Earth from the Saturnian system. Both photos were taken by Cedric Jensen, a member of the High Bridge, New Jersey Flying Saucer Club on Howard Menger's farm located on the outskirts of that city. The second photo was taken at a meeting of the club with a Polaroid camera in a darkened room as Howard literally lit up in a darkened basement in front of 40 people in attendance. For more information about the Mengers, please read Dr. Raymond Keller's Venus Rising, A Concise History of the Second Planet. That's
yeah, that's a famous picture of Howard Menger back then. So we see that this phenomenon occurring, and that the miracles that are occurring, even around the avatar of Jesus Christ and others, are literally accentuation points, or kind of like, I call them like media things, so that, here we have this great avatar 2,000 years ago with no mass world thing. How are they going to get this message that we're all family, that we need to love each other, and that we need to work together, and we need to have charity and act and to heal each other without these kind of like I kind of do it like a carnival bar. Step right up, see the avatar of God coming down. This with all of him and his disciples, it lasted to a great extent, pretty well intact for 2,000 years, and yet always human limitation and what we call the dark hierarchy have always taken something good and made it bad. For instance, the kind of the precursor to the Freemasons was really with the founding fathers. That was good. They weren't Freemasons, trying to destroy the world and gather it up. They were literally trying to create a new world of freedom for expression. Um, you know, Benjamin Franklin was head of the Venus Lodge. They were the ones in Boston that did the Tea Party. They threw the tea over, they broke the crates, and then they swept up the ship and they made it all nice. And there was tea landing on the shore for 2 weeks. So they were kind of civil disobedience people that were saying tyranny is enough. And eventually, of course, we have the firing at Fort Sumter and the Revolution. And we have to do this peacefully now. There is something coming, Michael, and I know you talk about it really heavily, and we have to remain calm and peaceful. I mean, Raymond, could you talk about the help in the revolution, the American French Revolution, and how they were encouraging people with ideas of freedom and of responsibility without getting into the violence or we have to be vigilant and protect our
Oh,
family.
yes. Well, I'd be happy to. That could even be a whole nother program, actually. But when the student of history looks at how the documents of the early republic came about, how the United States became a nation, the origin of the Great Seal, the vision of George Washington, the apparitions that appeared to Thomas Jefferson. When you really look into these things, you'll see the hand of a great celestial power behind all this. It just didn't happen out of the clear blue sky. But these individuals, our forefathers, were ready to receive that knowledge and revelation, and to put it into action. So it's I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one would walk with me than merely point the way. So the Venusians take that sage advice and have come down here from time to time to show us the way.
Wow, fabulous.
In fact, the woman that Raymond introduced me to, she was serving the earth in the American and French Revolution.
Wow.
And I had asked, I said, how do they do that? Well, uh, Thomas Jefferson would come home from a horse ride, and in his locked chamber, a Venusian would be there with documents and would be giving them guidance in the principles of free will and of the innate natural laws of the universe and the soul and how it expresses. So, this is the type of help that's happening, and we want to see them and we want to grab them. And why aren't you stopping this? People talk about the trap of reincarnation and the dark forces controlling incarnation. They're not controlling incarnation. The trap is the system that they've created that creates karma that causes people a little longer to incarnate. If you go through your incarnation and you learn, you achieve a certain level of development that will allow you to inhabit celestial realms, the realms of light. This is the message that a lot of the avatars, and especially Jesus Christ, talked about, was that we are eternal souls. That this world is very dark. The fact that the infinite spirit can be in something so dense is really a miracle. But We have to really make right choices. The responsibility for the planet relies on us as a people. And I don't know, Michael, I want to ask you a question. We see all of these protestations around the world with thousands of people in Europe, in France, in England, in Greece, I mean Turkey, all over the world. People are gathering in massive numbers and refusing the COVID vaccination ID, which they haven't really tried here. Um, what do you, from your sources, say, and what are you thinking? Are the people here going to stand up against this? I think they're afraid to actually impose it. I mean, you've talking about the good guys. Um, how do you see it coming forward? Maybe Raymond, you could maybe lend a commentary on what Michael's answer is.
So it's a free will choice. So a lot of people are making that decision to do it or not to do it. I think it's the same thing as every revolution. Because a lot of people think that the American Revolution, everybody was on board with that. No, it was like pretty much divided like it is right now. And the same thing with the French Revolution. I mean, we go all of these different points in history where we think that everybody was on board with that. No, it's the same thing. So we're going through another revolutionary period worldwide this time, not just in any one particular spot. So I think that's the beautiful thing that we're starting to see, that people are awakening in numbers that we've never seen before. And I think that's the cosmic hand that we're talking about that is helping, participating, and giving guidance. Of course, they're in the same thing. You have free will, you have free choice to make your own decisions. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about our world and our consciousness, that we have that and we understand that. But yeah, there's definitely a movement that is going to the point where it's a worldwide revolution, and on the other side of this is a golden age. But of course, there's going to be, just like every revolution, is going to be challenges and hostilities and not so good times, and then followed by incredible times. And it's absolutely amazing to be alive and experiencing this right now.
Amen. And what I have to add to that from the perspective of our celestial neighbors is that even uh, even a benevolent dictatorship is an oppression, and we wouldn't appreciate it if rule from above was imposed upon us. We have to be doing it for ourselves. It's um, we wouldn't appreciate it. We wouldn't know what to do with it, and it'd be a great injustice to the development of us as a species for all humankind. So we have to have the autonomy to develop our own systems, and they'll support us in that. And then we will be at that point where we can join a confederation of planets, but as a but as a worthy uh, as a worthy member, but as a proud and worthy member that
Mhm.
that arrived there on our
Right.
own power and created our own systems appropriate for our own world. And even they recognize that, and when we're ready to colonize space, they'll turn over the moon and all the bases that they have on the moon over to us,
Mhm.
so that they recognize that we can go forward in equality and friendship, but we have to get to that point.
What,
Fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, one other thing I wanted to say here was, um, when he means those bases, I mean the the light forces of Earth would populate the secret space program base on the moon, and I don't know. People are talking about battles on the moon. I can promise you that there have been no reptilians, no grays. There's been a government operation that's been under close monitor. There may have been battles around the moon, But the Venusians are absolutely in control, and with the multiple federations might that is here now, um, they are the hostile force is being dealt with. And I wanted to say to folks, because I think it's very important here, is that we see a lot of things happening in our news and a lot of destruction, and a lot of things are hidden from us in the mainstream news. But um, despite all of this, the negativity, it has a tendency, and its intention is to create division, destruction, separation between man and God, and man on all levels, man, woman, black and white, religion. And this is a message, this is kind of paraphrasing one of the Queen's messages to the people of Earth, and what they have told me. So the guides and the guardians have told me to tell everyone to have no fear, for God has not forsaken us. Continue your good works and keep love in your hearts. Christ came to teach us to tap the spring of peace and happiness and to see God in everything. And as we act accordingly in all of our relationships, we will be granted life both happy and eternal. So have no fear, people. And I want to make a prayer right now for all the people in the world who've lost their homes, who have lost their transportation, who've lost loved ones, who are under oppression of tyranny, who don't have enough to eat. I ask and I pray for our leaders to step up and to seek peace and to seek change and to enact it, to stop the destruction that they are planning and to try to depopulate the planet. This can never happen. It's doomed to failure. And people, you must wake up. We all must wake up. I must wake up. Right? We all have to evolve into a deeper understanding. And it really does come down to the principles. It sounds, cliche, but it really comes down to love fellow man as yourself and doing unto others. And if we could all but see the purity and the truth of that, um, we can get through this. And it's going to be a rocky ride. There will be more natural earth changes that are occurring. And if we can use these cataclysms and these challenges to come together, but fighting each other in the streets is not what we need to do. I think Michael and the military people are never going to allow the United Nations to come around and like they're doing in Canada to run their convoys. I think they're going to be here to hold the peace, because I know that the military are basically good and brave soldiers at heart. And I think for the first time ever, the good militaries of the world are going to be um, helping us to maintain peace and to stop the destruction of our societal infrastructure as planned by literally a non-human intruder with human traders at the helm. So I'm so thankful that I have food, that in my little shire, the world is not upside down, and I pray for the other people of the world at this point in time.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Dr. Keller, how can people reach you if they want to, your books and so forth?
Oh, yes, they can go to Amazon.com or to headlinebooks.com.
Very
And
good.
yeah, probably Amazon would be, they'd get them the quickest.
Excellent. Yeah.
They
So
can
I
also
look,
get
I look
them.
forward to meeting you in Mount Shasta, and everybody gets to hear your little secret. That's going to be very interesting. So definitely.
Oh yeah, we'll have all the books there, and
Oh, good, good.
I'll also be
I'll get
at
the ones that I haven't gotten
Sedona,
yet. Pretty good.
Arizona on the 22nd of August at the
Oh,
Unity of Sedona Church.
nice. Okay.
If
Nice.
you're in the if you're in the area, I'm just going to be there for that afternoon. But but come out and see me if you're in the area. Be happy to meet with you.
Yeah, Michael,
Great
thank you
place.
so much for having us on. It's been a great honor and a pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Congratulations on your move to Florida, and uh, I guess you're doing some good freedom rallies and with some people in the coming up, aren't you?
Yeah, so they're still putting that together. I've done a couple of events here, and just keep growing that. It's going to be good. And working with you in Mount Shasta, and hopefully we get some more events in the future. And maybe we can expand them. Like Sedona would be a great place to do events as well.
Absolutely.
So Robert, how can people get hold of you?
My website is a promised revealed UAT. It has gone through a few upgrades and some stuff. And I'm sorry that we have sold out of the conference. I have to be careful that we already have multiple rooms and not everyone. I'm putting Michael Jaco, Laura Eisenhower, and some of the A-list speakers who have the largest following in speaking twice. So the guests will be able to see them. And perhaps next year I can run two completely different venues concurrently. I am doing that for one day, but and I want people to know no matter what's going to happen, the fires, food shortages, unless the military blocks the roads, this conference is going on. We're committed and have no fear. And great spirits here. We're gonna change this world, and we're gonna rise like a phoenix from the ashes and create a community on this planet that's going to be free from a lot of the negative forces that we see today.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to get my stuff, I have to put it out there because I get my stuff stolen all the time and put on other sites. So I don't normally promote myself, but michaelkjaco.com if you want to look at my stuff. So gentlemen, so much information, and we could go on for hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks with all the information that just you have, Dr. Raymond Keller. So it's fantastic. It's a lot of fun to have you guys on together. It's a nice little combo. We'll just keep coming back and sharing as much as people have us. So I think it's been great. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks everyone, and we'll see you guys next time.